This is the story of Levi, and trust me, this gets dark fast. So, Levi is this quiet kid from San Francisco, 2009, senior year at Lincoln High. He's got thick glasses, hand-me-down clothes, and he's basically invisible to everyone except three people: Tyler, Mila, and Brad. And these three, they made it their personal mission to destroy this kid's life. Every single day for 4 years, they found new ways to humiliate him. They'd trip him in the hallways, sending his books flying while everyone laughed. They'd screenshot his texts and post them online with cruel captions. They'd wait by his locker and slam it shut on his fingers. One time, and this is where it gets really messed up, they convinced him to come to a house party, then locked him out in the rain for 2 hours while posting videos of him shivering on the porch. But the winter formal incident, that was their masterpiece of cruelty. It's February 2009, and Levi actually worked up the courage to ask a girl to the dance. Her name was Amy, and she was kind to him in chemistry class. For one moment, Levi thought maybe high school could get better. Maybe he wasn't destined to be the outcast forever. Tyler, Mila, and Brad couldn't let that happen. They told Levi that Amy wanted to meet him in the school basement before the dance for a surprise. 17-year-old Levi, desperate to believe someone actually cared about him, showed up early in his rented tux, clutching a corsage he bought with money from his part-time job at Radio Shack. The basement door slammed shut behind him. He heard the lock click. Then he heard their laughter echoing through the metal door. Levi spent 3 hours in that freezing concrete room, banging on the door, screaming until his voice went hoarse. Upstairs, Amy waited for him by the gym entrance, confused, and eventually hurt when he never showed up. She went to the dance alone, thinking Levi had stood her up. Meanwhile, Tyler was posting photos on social media with captions like, "Wonder where loser Levi went." Mila was spreading rumors that he chickened out because he was too weird for Amy. And Brad was collecting high fives from half the football team. When the janitor finally found Levi at midnight, the kid was hypothermic, crying, and completely broken. Not just physically, emotionally. That was the night Levi stopped believing in the goodness of people. That was the night he started planning. But here's the thing about Levi that nobody knew. This kid was brilliant, like scary brilliant. While Tyler was failing algebra, Levi was teaching himself coding languages most college students couldn't handle. While Mila was buying followers on Instagram, Levi was building apps that solved real problems. While Brad was getting drunk at house parties, Levi was studying business strategy, psychology, and most importantly, revenge. Because for him, it wasn't just about getting back at them. It was about proving that the quiet, broken kid they tortured was capable of destroying their entire world. Cut to 2015. Levi is 23, and he's just sold his first startup to Google for $12 million. But this wasn't some lucky break. This was 6 years of obsessive, methodical work. See, after graduation, while his classmates were partying their way through college, Levi was building his empire. He took exactly $17,000, money saved from his Radio Shack job and a small inheritance from his grandmother, and moved to a studio apartment in Palo Alto. No furniture except a mattress on the floor and 3 computer monitors. The app he created was called Safe Space, an anti-bullying platform that used AI to detect harassment patterns in social media and school communications. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was making millions off the same pain Tyler, Mila, and Brad had caused him. But does he celebrate when Google writes that check? Does he buy a Ferrari and forget about high school? Hell no. Levi takes that money and starts a digital marketing agency called Apex Solutions. And from day one, he has one goal that has nothing to do with business success. He wants to become the most powerful person in San Francisco's professional scene. Not for the money, not for the fame, for control. Because control is what he never had in that basement. Levi works 18-hour days, but it's not the desperate grind of someone trying to survive. It's the calculated obsession of someone building a weapon. He's ruthless with competitors, but smart about it. He poaches the best talent from every major firm in the city, offering them packages they can't refuse. He studies his competition like a military strategist, finding their weaknesses and exploiting them without mercy. By 2018, Apex Solutions is handling marketing for 30% of Silicon Valley's hottest startups. By 2020, Levi is worth $50 million, owns a penthouse in Soma, drives a Tesla Model S, and gets invited to parties with tech billionaires. But here's the thing, none of this success makes him happy. Every achievement just reminds him of that 17-year-old kid crying in a basement while his tormentors partied upstairs. And that's when Levi realizes something that chills him to the bone. All this power, all this money, all this success means nothing unless he can use it to balance the scales. But here's where it gets interesting. Because while Levi was building his empire, he was also keeping tabs on his high school bullies. Not in some creepy stalker way. He hired a private investigator named Rodriguez who sent him quarterly reports on Tyler, Mila, and Brad. And their lives? They were falling apart in the most spectacular ways possible. Tyler Morrison, the guy who used to stuff Levi in lockers and came up with the basement plan, he's 28, living with his parents in a converted garage, and he just got fired from his third sales job in 2 years. Turns out, that aggressive personality that made him a successful high school bully doesn't translate well to adult professional relationships. His managers kept writing up for inappropriate workplace behavior and conflicts with colleagues. His dating life is a disaster too. Every relationship ends the same way. His girlfriend realizes Tyler never grew up past 17, that he still talks about high school like it was the peak of his existence. His Tinder profile literally mentions that he was varsity captain and most popular senior year at 28. But it gets worse. Tyler's been struggling with anger issues that he never addressed. He punched a hole through his bedroom wall after getting fired from his last job. His parents are threatening to kick him out. He's got $37 in his checking account and credit card debt that's spiraling out of control. Mila Yang, who used to mock Levi's clothes and spread rumors about him being weird and creepy, she's drowning in student debt from her communications degree that she never finished. Turns out, her Instagram influencer dreams crashed harder than a Windows 95 computer when she realized that having a decent face and a decent camera doesn't automatically make you interesting. She's working double shifts at a coffee shop in the Mission, and her manager is a 19-year-old who treats her like she's completely incompetent. Because, let's be honest, she kind of is. Mila spent so much time in high school focused on popularity and social drama that she never actually developed any real skills. Her parents, who she used to brag were super successful, cut her off financially after she dropped out of college for the second time. She's living in a studio apartment with 2 roommates, sleeping on an air mattress, and her biggest excitement each week is getting a $5 tip from a customer. But the most pathetic part? Mila still acts like she's the popular girl from high school. She posts photos of her coffee shop uniform like it's some fashionable career choice, talks about her entrepreneurial journey, and desperately tries to network with customers who clearly just want their lattes and don't care about her dreams. And Brad Kowalski, the athlete who used to physically intimidate Levi and was the muscle behind most of their cruel pranks, his story is the most brutal of all. Brad was supposed to be the success story. Full ride to UC Davis for football, sports management major. Everyone expected him to either go pro or at least become a coach. Instead, he blew out his knee during a practice drill, junior year, not even during a game, just a routine Tuesday practice. The injury wasn't just physical. Brad's entire identity was wrapped up in being an athlete. Without football, he didn't know who he was. He started drinking heavily, failed out of college, and moved back home to live with his divorced mom. Now he's doing temp work at construction sites, showing up hungover half the time, getting fired from jobs for being unreliable. His body is broken, his spirit is crushed. and he spends most of his free time at dive bars telling anyone he'll listen about his high school football glory days. The worst part? Brad ran into Amy, the girl Levi was supposed to take to winter formal, at a grocery store last year. She's now a successful nurse practitioner, married with 2 kids, and she barely remembered who Brad was. When he tried to reminisce about high school, she just looked confused and said, "Oh, right. Weren't you guys really mean to that quiet kid? What was his name? Levi something?" All 3 of them are desperate. All 3 of them need jobs. All 3 of them are about to apply to the same company. And Levi? He's been waiting for this moment for over a decade. Levi doesn't just post job listings. This guy turns recruitment into psychological warfare. First, he studies their online behavior for months. Tyler's Facebook posts show he's desperate, constantly sharing job opportunities and asking friends for referrals. Mila's Instagram stories reveal her work schedule at the coffee shop and her financial struggles. Brad's LinkedIn profile hasn't been updated in 3 years, but his activity shows he's applying to dozens of jobs every week. So, Levi crafts the perfect trap. He creates targeted job listings that appear specifically in their social media feeds. The algorithm magic happens because Levi knows exactly what buttons to push. For Tyler, it's a sales development representative position that promises leadership opportunities and performance-based advancement. For Mila, it's a creative marketing coordinator role, emphasizing brand storytelling and social media expertise. For Brad, it's a facilities management specialist that mentions physical demands and hands-on work environment. But here's the genius part. Levi makes sure these jobs pay just enough to be tempting, but not enough to be prestigious. $38,000 a year, just above what they're making now, but low enough that they'll feel the sting of starting at the bottom. He also uses his network to make sure these positions get mentioned in the right places. A recruiter he knows accidentally brings up Apex Solutions during a networking event Tyler attends. A career counselor at Mila's old college mentions the company in an email blast. Brad sees a flyer at a job placement center. The positions aren't just random. They're designed to exploit each person's specific insecurities and desperate hopes. Tyler applies first because he's the most desperate. His cover letter is filled with exaggerated claims about his natural leadership abilities and proven track record of success. He mentions his high school achievements like they're relevant work experience. Mila applies 3 days later with a portfolio that's 80% screenshots of her personal social media accounts. She writes about her passion for authentic brand connections and her deep understanding of target demographics, which basically translates to, "I know how to post selfies." Brad applies last, and his application is painful to read. 1-page resume with huge font to fill the space. Under skills, he lists team player, hard worker, and reliable. His cover letter is 2 paragraphs of generic statements about wanting to contribute to a growing company. When Levi sees their applications come through, using the names that tormented him for 4 years, he doesn't feel angry anymore. He feels like a predator who spent years setting the perfect trap, and now his prey is walking right into it. Levi doesn't conduct the interviews himself. That would be too obvious, too satisfying in the wrong way. Instead, he has his HR manager, Sarah Chen, no relation, just coincidence, handle the initial screening. But he's watching from his office camera, studying their faces, their body language, their desperation. And boom! He's recording everything. Tyler comes in first, wearing a wrinkled suit that's clearly borrowed from his dad. The jacket is too big, the pants are too short, and there's a coffee stain on the tie that he tried to cover with a napkin. He's nervous, fidgeting with his resume, and Levi can see sweat stains forming on his arms. During the interview, Tyler oversells everything. He talks about his extensive leadership experience from high school student government, a position he got by intimidating other candidates. He mentions his excellent people skills while avoiding eye contact with Sarah. When she asks about the gap in his employment, Tyler stammers through an explanation about finding the right opportunity and being selective about career moves. Sarah asks him a basic question about handling difficult customers, and Tyler's answer reveals everything. Well, you just have to show them who's in charge, you know? Some people respond to strength. Sarah makes a note on his file that Levi knows says potential HR nightmare. But Tyler needs this job so badly that he's willing to accept anything. When Sarah mentions the salary, his face shows visible relief. When she explains the probatory period and strict performance metrics, he just nods eagerly. Mila shows up next in the most professional outfit she can afford. A black blazer from Target over dark jeans with heels that are clearly uncomfortable. She's put together a portfolio in a 3-ring binder with plastic sheet protectors, and Levi can see her hands shaking as she presents it. The portfolio is a joke. Screenshots of her Instagram posts, a few flyers she made in college, and printouts of engagement metrics that show she got 12 likes on a photo of her lunch. She talks about her creative vision and authentic brand voice, while Sarah flips through pages of completely amateur content. When Sarah asks about her social media experience, Mila mentions her personal Instagram account with 800 followers, like it's some major accomplishment. She explains her content strategy of posting outfit photos and coffee shop selfies. Sarah asks what metrics she uses to measure success, and Mila says likes and comments without any understanding of actual marketing KPIs. The most pathetic moment comes when Sarah asks about her biggest professional challenge. Mila talks about a group project in college where her teammates didn't understand her creative process. Translation: she was lazy and they did all the work. But she's desperate enough to take a job that's completely beneath her skill level, which isn't saying much. Brad arrives 20 minutes late, and his excuse is traffic, even though Sarah can see from the window that the streets are clear. He's wearing jeans and a polo shirt to what he thinks is a marketing interview, and he keeps calling Sarah "sweetie" in a way that makes her visibly uncomfortable. When Sarah asks about his experience, Brad immediately launches into his high school football stats like they're relevant work qualifications. He talks about being team captain, about leading the varsity squad to regionals, about his bench press record. Sarah has to interrupt him to ask about actual work experience. Brad's employment history is a disaster. 6 different jobs in 4 years, all ending with him either getting fired or quitting without notice. When Sarah asks why he left his last construction job, he says his supervisor had it out for him and didn't respect his experience. The real reason, which Levi already knows from his private investigator, is that Brad showed up drunk and got into a fight with a coworker. The interview reaches peak awkwardness when Sarah asks about his computer skills. Brad says he's pretty good with technology, and then admits he doesn't know how to use Excel, PowerPoint, or any marketing software. When Sarah mentions the job involves data analysis, Brad asks if that means, like, math and stuff. All 3 interviews end the same way. Sarah explains that they'll be in touch within a week, and all 3 candidates leave looking like they'd take literally any offer. All 3 of them need these jobs desperately. All 3 of them are hired. And Levi? He's about to turn their workplace into his personal psychology experiment. Levi watches from his corner office as his 3 former tormentors walk into Apex Solutions for their first day. The building is everything they could never afford: glass and steel, modern art on the walls, a reception desk that cost more than Tyler's car. They don't recognize the company name. They don't know who owns it. They're just grateful to have paychecks and health insurance. But Levi has spent weeks planning their assignments, and each one is specifically designed to break them down psychologically. Tyler is assigned to the cold calling department, but not just any cold calling. Levi has him targeting tech executives, people who are smarter, more successful, and more accomplished than Tyler will ever be. 8 hours a day of calling CEOs and CTOs who hang up on him, laugh at him, or worse, politely explain why his pitch is completely wrong. The script Tyler has to read includes technical terms he doesn't understand, and when prospects ask follow-up questions, he sounds like an idiot. His supervisor, a 24-year-old Stanford graduate named Kevin, has to constantly correct Tyler's pronunciation and explanation of basic marketing concepts. The psychological torture is in the details. Tyler's workstation is positioned so he can see through the glass wall into the executive conference room, where actual important people make actual important decisions. He watches Levi through that window, presenting to clients worth millions, while Tyler struggles to make a single successful cold call. Mila gets data entry, but Levi has made it special just for her. She's inputting market research data that she thinks is going toward major client campaigns. 8 hours a day of typing numbers into spreadsheets, categorizing customer feedback, and organizing survey responses. Here's the sick part. It's all fake. Every spreadsheet Mila fills out gets automatically deleted at the end of each day. The market research is generated by bots. The customer feedback is lorem ipsum text run through a translation program. Mila is literally doing nothing, producing nothing, contributing nothing, but she doesn't know it. She sits in a cubicle surrounded by the actual marketing team, creative, energetic people working on real campaigns that generate millions in revenue. She can hear them brainstorming, celebrating successful launches, getting praise from clients. Meanwhile, Mila enters fake data into temporary spreadsheets like a robot. The worst part is when her supervisor, Maria, occasionally asks Mila to double-check some entries or verify the formatting. Mila takes these tasks seriously, spending extra time making sure the fake data is perfectly organized, not knowing she's polishing a turd that will disappear in 12 hours. Brad's assignment is the most humiliating of all. He's officially titled Facilities Management Specialist, which sounds professional until you realize it means he's the janitor. But not just any janitor. He's specifically assigned to clean the executive floor, where Levi's office is located. Every single day, the former football star who used to slam Levi into lockers has to empty the trash can of the kid he terrorized. Levi makes sure to leave extra mess, coffee rings on his desk, papers scattered on the floor. Sometimes he accidentally spills his lunch and needs Brad to clean it up immediately. But the real psychological warfare happens during these cleaning sessions. Levi works late most nights, so Brad has to clean around him. They're in the same room, but Levi acts like Brad doesn't exist. He takes important phone calls, makes million-dollar decisions, and manages a team of 50 employees while Brad scrubs the floors at his feet. The power dynamic is so complete, so devastating, that Brad starts to internalize it. After 2 weeks, he automatically looks down when Levi walks past. He says, "Excuse me, sir," when he needs to clean around Levi's desk. The bully has become completely submissive to his former victim. And the cherry on top? Brad has to wear a uniform with Apex Solutions embroidered on the chest, the same logo that's on Levi's business cards, the same company name that appears on tech blogs and industry publications as one of San Francisco's fastest-growing agencies. Every day, Brad wears the symbol of his former victim's success while scrubbing toilets and emptying garbage cans. Levi doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he doesn't even directly confront them. Instead, he uses the same tactics they used on him in high school, but refined through years of business strategy and psychological manipulation. It starts subtle. Tyler's cold calling quotas are set impossibly high, 50 successful connections per day when the industry average is 10. When he inevitably falls short, Levi has his manager Kevin put him on performance improvement plans that are designed to fail. The stress is eating Tyler alive. He's losing weight, losing sleep, and his confidence is completely shattered. But here's the genius part. Every failure is documented. Kevin sends daily reports to HR about Tyler's attitude problems and inability to meet basic expectations. Tyler doesn't know it, but Levi is building a case for termination that will look completely legitimate on paper. Tyler starts staying late, making desperate calls to West Coast prospects after business hours, trying to hit numbers that are mathematically impossible. His voice gets hoarse from talking all day. His manager gives him a throat lozenge and says, "Maybe sales isn't for you," with fake sympathy that makes Tyler want to punch a wall. The psychological torture escalates when Levi starts inviting successful salespeople to present their techniques during morning meetings. These 20-something Stanford MBAs casually mention deals worth more than Tyler makes in a year, while Tyler sits in the back taking notes like he's learning from his superiors. One day, Kevin assigns Tyler to call a list of warm leads that are actually Levi's personal contacts, people who know exactly who Tyler is and what's happening. The CEO of a startup Levi works with answers Tyler's call and says, "Oh, you must be one of the special employees Levi told me about. How's it going working for your old classmate?" Tyler doesn't understand the comment, but the humiliation in the CEO's voice is unmistakable. Mila's psychological destruction is more subtle, but equally devastating. Her data entry work isn't just meaningless, it's designed to make her question her sanity. Levi has programmed the system so that Mila's spreadsheets occasionally glitch and lose hours of work. She'll spend all morning entering data, only to find that half of it disappeared when she refreshes the screen. When she reports this to Maria, her supervisor acts concerned, but suggests that Mila must have forgotten to save properly. "These systems can be tricky," Maria says with a patronizing smile. "Maybe you need more training on basic computer skills." The fake research data Mila enters is designed to be contradictory and nonsensical. Customer feedback that says, "I love this product," right next to a 1-star rating. Survey responses that claim people are extremely satisfied while requesting full refunds. Mila notices these inconsistencies, but when she mentions them, Maria dismisses her concerns. "You're not here to analyze the data, Mila. You're here to input it. Maybe focus on your actual job instead of trying to be a strategist." Slowly, Mila starts doubting her own intelligence. Maybe she doesn't understand how market research works. Maybe these contradictions make sense to people smarter than her. Maybe she really is just qualified for mindless data entry. The worst part comes during company meetings when Maria presents insights from our research data, completely made-up conclusions that have nothing to do with Mila's fake entries. Mila watches her meaningless work get transformed into million-dollar client strategies, never knowing that the real research is being done by a team of analysts she's never met. Brad's janitorial duties become a masterclass in psychological dominance. Levi doesn't just make him clean his office, he makes him clean it perfectly, then finds reasons to make it dirty again. "Brad, there are water spots on my conference table. Can you re-clean that?" "Brad, I spilled some coffee earlier. Could you steam clean this carpet section?" "Brad, the windows look streaky. Maybe use a different technique?" Each request is polite, professional, and completely reasonable, but Brad knows what's happening. Every day, he has to acknowledge Levi's authority, accept Levi's corrections, and perform menial tasks for the person he used to torture. The breaking point comes when Levi starts having important client meetings during Brad's cleaning schedule. Brad has to vacuum around venture capitalists while Levi presents marketing strategies worth millions. These clients see Brad as invisible, just part of the office furniture, while they shake hands with Levi and discuss deals that could change industries. One night, while Brad is emptying Levi's trash, he finds a printout of their high school yearbook page. It's the photo from Winter Formal, showing Tyler, Mila, and Brad laughing at something off camera. Written in red pen across the bottom are the words, "Where are they now?" Brad realizes that Levi knows exactly who he is. This isn't coincidence. This is revenge. And there's nothing he can do about it because he needs this job to survive. 3 months in, Marcus decides it's time. He calls all 3 of them into the main conference room for what he tells them is a team building exercise. They sit at the polished table, confused and nervous. Marcus walks in, and for the first time, he's not hiding behind managers or HR representatives. He's face to face with his tormentors. "Do you remember me?" he asks. Tyler squints. There's something familiar about the voice, but he can't place it. "Lincoln High School," Marcus continues, "class of 2009. Mila's face goes white. The recognition hits her like a freight train. "You used to call me Four Eyes," Marcus says, looking directly at Tyler. "You used to trip me in the hallways." Brad's mouth drops open. The scared, scrawny kid from high school is now his boss, his incredibly successful, incredibly powerful boss. "And you," Marcus turns to Mila, "used to screenshot my texts and share them with the whole school. Remember that?" Mila starts crying. Not fake tears, real, terrified, ashamed tears. "And you," he looks at Brad, "locked me in the school basement during winter formal. I spent 3 hours in that room thinking about what I was going to do to you someday." The room is dead silent, except for Mila sobbing. Marcus walks to the head of the table and sits down. His 3 former bullies are staring at him like he's a ghost. "Here's what's going to happen," he says calmly. "You have 2 choices. You can quit right now, walk out that door, and try to find jobs somewhere else. Good luck with that, by the way. I have contacts at every major company in this city, and I will make sure none of you ever work in marketing again." Tyler's hands are shaking. Brad looks like he's going to be sick. Mila has stopped crying and is just staring at the table. "Or," Marcus continues, "you can stay. You can keep your jobs, you can keep your paychecks, but you're going to work for me, and you're going to remember every single day what you did to me in high school." He stands up and straightens his tie. "The difference between you and me is that I'm not going to destroy your lives for fun. I'm going to give you exactly what you deserve. You want to act like children? You get treated like children. You want to be bullies? You get to see what it feels like to be powerless." Tyler chooses to stay, but the humiliation is destroying him from the inside. Every day at Apex Solutions becomes a reminder of his complete failure as a human being. He starts drinking before work, showing up with bloodshot eyes and alcohol on his breath. Kevin, his supervisor, documents every incident. But here's where it gets really dark. Tyler doesn't just hate his job. He starts hating himself. He looks in the mirror and sees the same pathetic bully who peaked in high school, and now he's working for his victim. The power dynamic has completely reversed, and Tyler can't handle it. He starts making mistakes on purpose, hoping to get fired so he doesn't have to quit and face the shame of another failure. But Levi's system is too perfect. Every mistake gets documented, every failure becomes part of his performance review, and Tyler gets written up instead of terminated. The psychological pressure builds until Tyler has a panic attack during a sales call. A potential client hears him hyperventilating and asks if he's okay. Tyler hangs up, runs to the bathroom, and spends 20 minutes crying in a stall while Kevin times his break. Mila also stays, but something fundamental breaks inside her brain. She starts seeing a therapist, trying to process the guilt and shame of her high school behavior, but also the existential horror of her current situation. "I spend 8 hours a day doing work that doesn't matter," she tells her therapist. "I'm 28 years old, and I'm completely useless." Her therapist asks about her job satisfaction, and Mila explains that she feels like she's disappearing, like she's becoming invisible. She doesn't know that her work is literally being deleted, but she senses the meaninglessness of her existence. The breaking point comes when Mila actually apologizes to Levi one day. She corners him after a company meeting, crying, and says she's sorry for how she treated her in high school. She admits she was cruel admits she was wrong, admits she deserved whatever was happening to her. Levi accepts her apology politely, professionally, and then tells her to get back to work. Her meaningless, pointless, soul-crushing work that will be deleted before she gets home. Brad quits after 2 weeks of knowing the truth, but not because he's proud or angry. He quits because he can't handle the complete psychological domination. Every day, he has to look at Levi and remember what he did to that scared 17-year-old kid in the basement. But here's the thing. Brad doesn't get to just walk away and forget. Levi's network in San Francisco is massive now, and word spreads quickly that Brad Kowalski is unreliable and has attitude problems. Every job interview Brad goes to, someone mentions they heard he had issues at his last position. Brad moves back to his hometown, gets a job at a hardware store making minimum wage, and starts drinking heavily. He doesn't talk about his time at Apex Solutions to anyone, but the experience haunts him. He has nightmares about cleaning Levi's office, about being invisible while million-dollar deals happen around him. The worst part? Brad knows he deserves it. He knows that 17-year-old Levi didn't deserve to be locked in that basement, and 28-year-old Brad deserved to scrub the floors of his victim's empire. But knowing you deserve punishment doesn't make it easier to live with. But here's where this story gets really dark. And I mean really fucking dark. 6 months after the revelation, Tyler completely snaps. The stress, the humiliation, the constant reminder of his failures, it builds up like pressure in a broken pipe. Tyler starts showing up to work drunk, slurring his words during sales calls, and Kevin finally has enough documentation to justify termination. But getting fired doesn't end Tyler's suffering. It makes everything worse. Now he's unemployed, living in his parents' garage, and he can't even explain to them what happened without admitting he used to be a bully who got his comeuppance. His dad keeps asking why he can't just get another sales job, not understanding that Levi's influence has effectively blacklisted Tyler from every decent company in the city. Tyler starts drinking more, first just at night, then during the day, then basically all the time. His parents threaten to kick him out, his few remaining friends stop returning his calls, his ex-girlfriend blocks him on social media after he sends her drunk texts about how his life fell apart. And through it all, Tyler can't stop thinking about that conference room revelation. The moment when he realized that the scared, skinny kid from high school had grown up to become everything Tyler never could be. Successful, powerful, in control. Tyler starts having what his parents think are panic attacks, but they're actually psychological breaks. He'll be sitting in his garage apartment, and suddenly he's 17 again, laughing as they lock Levi in that basement. Then he snaps back to reality and remembers that Levi is now worth $50 million while Tyler can't afford a bus pass. The guilt and shame become unbearable. Tyler writes in a journal, yes, a grown man starts keeping a diary because he has no one else to talk to, and the entries get darker and more desperate every day. I can't sleep, he writes. Every time I close my eyes, I see his face when we locked him in that basement. He was so scared. He was just a kid, and we were monsters. Levi didn't just get revenge, he writes another day. He showed me who I really am. I'm nothing. I've always been nothing. High school was fake. My whole life has been fake. 2 weeks after getting fired from Apex Solutions, Tyler Morrison kills himself. He uses his father's hunting rifle in the garage where he'd been living. His suicide note is 3 pages long, and it mentions Apex Solutions specifically. It talks about working for someone from high school who showed me what I really deserved. It mentions feeling hopeless, worthless, and completely destroyed by the realization that his victim had become more successful than Tyler could ever dream of being. Levi finds out through a mutual friend from Lincoln High who sees the obituary in the local paper. For the first time since high school, Levi feels something other than anger or satisfaction toward his former bullies. He feels absolutely nothing, and that's what terrifies him. Reading about Tyler's suicide should have made him feel guilty or sad or at least something human. Instead, Levi's first thought is, 1 down, 2 to go. That's when he realizes what he's become. Marcus attends Tyler's funeral. He sits in the back, watching Tyler's parents cry over their son's casket. He sees Mila there too, sobbing uncontrollably. Even Brad drives up from his hometown. After the service, Tyler's mother approaches Marcus. She recognizes him from high school. "You knew Tyler, didn't you?" she says. "You both went to Lincoln." Marcus nods, not trusting himself to speak. "He talked about you sometimes," she continues. "He said he was sorry for how he treated you in school. He said you were a good person who didn't deserve what happened." Marcus feels something break inside his chest. "He was getting help," Tyler's mother says. "He was trying to be better. But that job, it was killing him. He said his boss was someone from high school who hated him." She looks Marcus directly in the eyes. "Do you know who that was?" Marcus stares at this grieving mother, this woman who just lost her son, and he realizes that his revenge wasn't sweet at all. It was poison, and it killed someone. Levi doesn't shut down Apex Solutions because he feels guilty about Tyler's death. He shuts it down because Tyler's suicide note becomes a problem. See, Tyler mentioned his workplace specifically, and his therapist starts asking questions. The therapist contacts a lawyer about potential workplace harassment. Tyler's parents start wondering why their son was so destroyed by what should have been a normal entry-level job. The heat gets too close to Levi, so he does what any smart businessman does. He cuts his losses. He sells Apex Solutions to a competitor for $40 million, more than he originally paid to build it. The sale includes all employees, all contracts, and, most importantly, all liability. Mila keeps her meaningless job under new management. The paper trail of Tyler's employment gets buried in the acquisition paperwork. Levi walks away richer than ever and legally untouchable. But here's what nobody expects. The money doesn't matter to him anymore. The success doesn't matter. The power doesn't matter. Because Tyler's death proved something that terrifies Levi more than any basement ever could. He's not the victim anymore. He's the monster. And monsters don't get happy endings. Levi takes his money and disappears, not to some tropical island or European mansion, but to a small town in Oregon where nobody knows his name or his story. He buys a used bookstore, rents a studio apartment above it, and tries to live like a normal person. But you can't run from what you've become. Mila finds him 2 years later. She's been in therapy, working through her guilt about Tyler's death and her own high school behavior. Her therapist suggested she try to make amends with people she's hurt, so she tracks down Levi through public records. She shows up at his bookstore on a rainy Thursday afternoon, looking older and sadder than her 30 years. Levi is behind the counter, organizing inventory when she walks in. "I know what you did," she says, quietly. Levi doesn't look up from his books. "I don't know what you're talking about. Tyler's dead because of you, because of what we did to you and what you did to him." Levi finally looks at her, and Mila sees something in his eyes that makes her step backward. It's not anger or guilt or sadness. It's complete emptiness. "Tyler's dead because Tyler was weak," Levi says. "Just like you, just like Brad. Just like everyone who thinks high school bullying justifies a lifetime of failure." Mila starts crying, but Levi feels nothing. "You want to make amends?" Levi continues. "Go make amends with Tyler's parents. Tell them their son died because you taught him that power comes from hurting people weaker than you. Tell them that when someone stronger came along, Tyler couldn't handle being on the receiving end." Mila runs out of the bookstore, and Levi never sees her again. Brad never finds him. Brad drinks himself to death 3 years later in his hometown, alone in a trailer park, never knowing that his former tormentor became everything Brad feared and respected. And Levi? He runs that bookstore for the rest of his life, surrounded by stories of heroes and villains, always wondering which one he became. Because in the end, revenge isn't about justice. It's about becoming the thing you hate most. And sometimes when you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss doesn't just stare back. It swallows you whole. The moral of this story isn't that bullying is wrong. We all know that. The moral is that revenge, even when it's perfectly justified, can turn you into something worse than the people who hurt you. Levi got everything he wanted. He won. He proved that the quiet, scared kid from the basement could grow up to destroy his tormentors completely. Tyler's dead. Mila's broken. Brad drank himself to death into an early grave. Levi achieved the perfect revenge. But winning cost him everything that makes someone human. Empathy, guilt, the ability to feel anything except cold satisfaction when people suffer. Tyler, Mila, and Brad were bullies in high school. They were cruel, heartless teenagers who tortured someone weaker than them for fun. They deserved consequences, but they didn't deserve to die. And Levi didn't deserve to become the kind of person who could watch someone's mother cry at their funeral and feel nothing. Sometimes the best revenge is just being better than the people who hurt you, not destroying them, not breaking them, just being better. But that's a lesson Levi learned too late, because when you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss doesn't just stare back. It turns you into something that belongs in the dark. If you felt something from this story, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.